Heather.
And this is Conspiracies Unlocked. And I am going to bend and twist your mind of time and reality and our time and space.
I love that.
What if I told you that it's actually the year 1724 AD?
80?
AD, BC, so we're 300 years fast forwarded in our timeline. That it's not actually 2024, it's actually 1724.
I would really be interested to know why and how.
And yeah, exactly. Why does that even matter for anything? But this is called the Phantom Time Conspiracy.
Okay.
And this was theorized by a German historian named Herbert Illig. And supposedly the Catholic Church, so the Roman Catholic Church, the big people, made up 300 years worth of history in order to speed up our timeline. Which, like I said, would mean that we are actually in the year 1724. I mean, time is relative, so it wouldn't, change anything. It's not we should be living in, the Dark Ages or, we should still have technology. It's just they sped up the timeline. And so the theory is that the Italian Roman Emperor Otto III got with Pope Sylvester II and maybe possibly even Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII to fuck with the timeline. So they all three possibly conspired against time. So they fixed the dates to look like they reigned in AD 1000, when according to the Phantom Time theory, they would have really reigned in 700 AD. So they're making it look like they reigned right at the turn of the century. Is that century? Millennium. Right at the turn of the millennium, right? Mm-hmm. When in actuality it was back 300 years. And this would mean that everything between AD 614 to AD 911 was all a lie. That would mean no Charlemagne, no Muslim conquest of Spain, no Viking raids of England. So it would just kind of, that chunk of history is not real.
So they just fabricated it because they had to have some type of history during that period, because they can't just leave the history blank.
So they made up these stories.
Wrote their own narrative for that time period.
Yes. Okay. If you think that's far-fetched, hear this next part of the theory.
Okay.
Buckle up. It's a doozy.
Yeah, I'm already
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So apparently those three also buried fake artifacts. To be dug up hundreds of years later. So pretty much they tampered with evidence.
What about carbon dating?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah. So Illig claims that this theory has to be true because of the lack of original documents from that time period. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, that time period was the Dark Ages in Europe.
Okay.
So this all took place in Europe. Mm-hmm. So that was the Dark Ages. So it's almost did they name it the Dark Ages because it wasn't real?
Because it was dark. Everybody was in the dark to the truth.
Yeah. That never happened.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I just thought that was a cute little coincidence. Mm-hmm. But the original documents is fucking at 700 AD. Where would the documents be? Or 1000 AD? It's not like they have a computer program or a filing system.
No, but we do have really...
It's just not paper documents. It would be
it's on
scrolls.
On
do they even have scrolls then?
Yeah, they have writing and language.
That's so weird. On cowhide or sheephide or camel hide over there.
Wait, what year are you talking about?
1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago.
Oh,
They didn't have a paper mill.
No.
But they would use like cowhide. First it was like tablets, like chiseling shit out.
1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
I mean,
I'm trying to remember when the first known written language was.
That's not in my like brain of just random trivia.
No,
thoughts.
I know.
I don't know. Is it yours?
Mm-mm.
I have a lot of random trivia like things in my brain, and just for some reason that's not one of them.
I just feel like I should know the answer because I did when I was very young in high school. Actually, I took college courses for my high school credits. And one of the courses I did was anthropology, which is the study of like man, and archaeology. So I feel like I should know when the first written.
Well, first, alright, so I just did a quick Google search.
But I can't
first
remember.
It was 3000 BCE, but this wasn't on paper. It would have been on.
No, regardless of paper, just the
pictographs. Yeah, it was like 3000 BCE. So that was 5,000 years ago. So
So by 1,000 years ago, they would have had written documentation.
Some sort of documentation, yes. So, this theory would also explain why there are discrepancies between the Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar, which the Gregorian calendar is what we go by now, and it was made in 1582. And they switched from the Julian to the Gregorian because they found an error with the leap years, making the calendar 11 minutes off. Like I'm not sure if it was per year. It doesn't sound that bad until all those 11 minutes like added up to an extra 10 days per year. And hence why like leap year is so important now to like keep it together. Okay. So they had to just kind of like reset the time anyways. I also found out...
Do you talk about Ethiopia at all in this?
No.
Or do you talk about the 13-month calendar at all?
No. Okay. So supposedly, at that time, the calendar should have been adjusted for 13 days, not just 10 days. However, those who adjusted it for those 10 days was working for Pope Gregory II.
Okay.
And remember, Pope Gregory is part of the, like, Catholic Church, the Vatican. The Vatican, along with Pope Sylvester. So they're like all like if possibly that they're all in cahoots together in order to maintain this phantom time.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going around about the Vatican right now.
Yes. So I started like looking at calendars kind of, and I was like, when did the first calendar like start, right?
Is it Mayan?
No, the oldest one was actually found in Scotland, and it was 8,000 BC, so 11,000 years ago.
My brain always goes to the Mayan
You would think because the Mayan calendar was a huge deal, especially for like astrology and stuff, I believe, right?
I don't know, I just was going to Mayan. I didn't know it was Scottish.
Yeah, I don't even know what it would look like, but because it has the dial. You look at the Mayan calendar, it's the dial, and, it reminds me of astrology.
Yeah.
So
the Scottish one was when?
8,000 BC.
Ooh, 8,000 BC. I'm writing that down. That's cool.
So I just did like a quick Google search for that just to be like, when was the first calendar? Because then I started to think about time.
It's all time.
This whole like episode made me just like think about time and how time works and where did it come from and who made it up and why are we doing this? But I guess it's all planets and shit. Anyways.
Well, time is like time is also your perception of time. It's not.
It's all relative. Like
it's not a real thing.
It's not linear. It's not linear. It's.
Well, they say that the past and the present is going together at the same time.
Yeah.
Like everything is going together at the same time.
It's like we're all. I don't know. It's really like my head starts to get weird. I think then
they get into like string theory and stuff, and it gets really.
You just watched The Big Bang Theory, didn't you? They always talk about string theory.
No, but I was watching
Young
something
Sheldon?
on. No. It was I don't know what it was. It was something on YouTube.
String theory is how the universe came to be, isn't it? It is not about time travel, is it?
String theory, I cannot describe string theory to you right now. We'd have to look it up. String theory is above my knowledge, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah. But I know that string theory has to do with physics.
There's a reason we didn't go to MIT or anything special.
We'll have to do a whole thing on it, but it's string theory. You're talking about physics. You're talking about how things form, and you're talking about time, math, science. It's like everything.
Yeah, it's like the fabric of time and space connected.
And I think the way that string theory, one of the ways that they use string theory is that string theory is a way that can explain parallel
timelines
and that sort of thing. Like
that would make sense. So as well,
there's an infinite amount of you, and an infinite amount of scenarios of you, of me, of everything, and we're all working. We're not working together, but we're all living. We're all together, and something you do now in this moment, that string theory suggests that it's going to affect your person or part of you in the other dimension.
Oh.
And so even though you don't know you're doing it and you don't know what's happening, it's all connected like a web. Whoa. That's my understanding of string theory.
If that's why sometimes,
like a very pinprick. And
you know how sometimes you get like a stomachache out of nowhere, like something weird, and you're like, whoa, is that? I wonder if it's your other self is sick and somewhere else of another universe.
Or you get that intuition, like, something's telling you for some reason. You get I don't know. That's my understanding.
So
I might be wrong, but
anyways, let me breathe and get all that out, because my head is like spinning now. Anytime I think about something that's like really large like
science
that,
is intense.
It's like the whole universe and just thinking how small we are, any of that stuff, and just time and parallel universes, my head starts to get like confused. Like I can only think in like 5D, not 20D.
Did you hear what William Shatner said?
What?
So random, but William Shatner, if you don't know who he is, he's known for a lot of things, but Star Trek, was like a big one.
But he does a lot of stuff now. What is it called? The Unexplained.
Yes, but he actually said that he always was like promoting like space exploration with that sci-fi, Star Trek. And it was always, the whole thing was like to go where no man has gone before, right? Yeah. Well, then he actually got to go to space.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went to space. I don't know how far in space, I don't know how far he went out of our, like, how far in the atmosphere he went. Yeah. But he went far enough in a space shuttle that he could see everything. And everything that he saw was just the nothingness of space. Like, when you're in space to a certain point, you don't see any stars, you don't see anything. No. Not because you're so far away from, because you're close to Earth. The stars that you see are already so burnt out, and they're already so far away. Yeah. When you're right there, like at certain levels of the atmosphere, you don't see any stars, you don't see anything. It's just nothingness. So he basically said that his whole life he was just like promoting, like, oh yeah, where no man's gone before. And then when he actually went where no man's gone before, all he felt was like an emptiness and a loneliness. And that a sadness that of the earth is really all we have. And then everybody is saying like, oh, we can just, not everybody's saying, but the whole idea of like, oh, you can just go find another planet. Yeah. He's like, there's nothing out there. I mean, there is. It's
but for infinite. How long it took him to get to the place that he was at that.
Well, no, it's infinite. But at the same time, it's empty and it's like, for us to actually achieve to where we are colonized on another planet, like, say, Mars, that they've been talking about forever, or the moon. I've heard people talk about the moon. It's like, realistically, no. Like, the Earth is the one that we need to protect, and the Earth is the one that is, like, gives us everything we need. We have the water, we have the oxygen, we have everything to sustain our life forms, that we're just fucking with it. And then he just felt a complete emptiness and loneliness and sadness.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting.
Okay, let's get back to the phantom time.
This is all about time. I love this.
Okay.
Okay.
So to debunk the phantom time, which was the 297 years that they just added on, just for, we'll find out why later, but
yeah,
so
that's a lot.
debunking this theory proved to be like pretty freaking easy because it sounds crazy. As long as you believe the current time that we are in 2024, and as long as you believe everything, quote unquote, they tell you.
Sure.
Because there is like that plausibility that everybody is in on it, and or more people
what can
are in
you
on
trust?
it. Yeah.
Can you trust NASA? Can you trust these scientists?
So, so the first thing is, like, why is that missing time only in Europe? When you look at other areas in the world, they are not missing that 300 years in their calendars or in anything. Now, could they have gone and to those other countries and been like, hey, by the way, we're jump ahead, you know? It's just not missing in other countries where maybe they did go to other countries and tell them like, hey, we've all got, us three have gotten together and we want to jump ahead 300 years. Does that matter to you guys? No? Cool. Then this is our new timeline. So now instead of it being 780, it is now 1000 AD.
Yeah.
Add on 300 years. So that's one of the things is why did it only happen in Europe and nowhere else?
Well, that gives me the time zones. You know, like, what is it? Arizona doesn't switch daylight savings or something like that.
Well, daylight savings had started.
Who is the one that doesn't?
It is Arizona. It's actually multiple states, and we had voted in to stop doing it as well.
Yeah.
Like, 3 years ago, but the government doesn't care what we actually want, so we haven't put it into we haven't.
Well, California is like its own country at this rate.
No, but we voted in California.
No, I know, but I feel like they do it
they're
like
a dictator. No, there's like a dictator. Like they don't even care what we think. Anyways, so, but that has nothing to do. That was just made up a few hundred years ago.
It's just reminding me of that. Like, how do they get everybody on board for something? Like, they have to vote on it. So maybe they voted on it?
The whole world?
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, that would be hard. So, that's number one. Number two would be the astronomical proof. Literally the astronomical proof of solar eclipses. Other celestial events that have been documented since before the missing time. So, like, an eclipse happens. That's supposed to happen every 524 years. It happened before the missing time. So, like, 600 AD or whatever. And then it happened again in 1200 AD. Well, then it happened every 600 years, right?
Okay, so it's like a pattern. There's definite
patterns with the planets and how they go and celestial events. Like, so it's literally, there's astronomical proof that the 300 years were never missing.
Yeah.
Then, and they're able to... they're able to prove that those events did happen through those 300 years because the ancient civilizations would document stars, eclipses, planetary alignment. Like, they were very into all that. It's pretty much like all they had. They had huts, hunting, and stars, right? They didn't really have survival and stars. Like, that was their entertainment, the stars moving and stuff, right?
Yeah,
they didn't have TV.
They even used the stars for the navigation of the ships and stuff.
Yeah. So the earliest documents, like even cave drawings and such, like things like that, show when big comets happened, and they can see it through the whole like different civilizations that there was a comet or a solar eclipse, because in the cave drawings it shows. So they were documenting things, and when you think about it, it's so fascinating that us 1,000 years later are looking back at this and able to create a pattern within their cave drawings that who knows if they even knew what they were really contributing to at the time. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, they were documenting
without
things.
knowing that 1,000 years later someone's going to be looking at this and actually finding and forming a pattern. Anyways, so everything kind of goes for today's date.
Yeah.
So that solar eclipse that we just had, that solar eclipse happened X amount of years ago, before that, and it's all
they
done
already
right.
know when the next one is going to happen.
They do, and they know when the last ones have happened. So according to all that, the 300 years is not unaccounted for.
I see.
As long as we believe in what they're telling us, that this eclipse is supposed to happen every X amount of years. Obviously, no one is living for 532 years, so they could all be fucking lying to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so... number 3 would be the archaeological evidence. So there are artifacts that have been carbon dated. So remember the artifacts that...
Yeah, so how would they bury them?
Yeah. So they found the ones that that they couldn't have been like planted with the current technology of carbon dating and forensic evidence. Like they can see that carbon dating, and they can see that certain artifacts that are supposed to be like 2,065 years old is actually like 2,065 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're very like precise, and give or take maybe 100 years, they're pretty precise on their carbon dating.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you believe, because some people, some like historians included, believe that the dating methods that they use to date all the all the finds, are not to be like that accurate, and they could even be off by hundreds or even thousands of years.
Okay.
So they might not even realize like their whole carbon dating timeline, like the tree rings or this or that. Even rock, whenever you open up a rock, or like you go to the desert and you see the lines, that's all carbon dating. So we can see it ourselves. If you just look outside, you can carbon date things for yourself to an extent if you knew how to. But
or they take cores. They take cores of the earth too, and you see the different levels of the different periods.
That's what you can see in the desert on the way. All the Platon, you can see all of that. Yeah. So they're saying that their timeline for this could be skewed by thousands of years. So if they look at one line, and then they look at this line, and they're like, oh, this and this is this big, so it must be 1,000 years, and that's our timeline. 1,000 years. It could really only be 100 years. Yeah, they don't know.
It's funny that you say that too, because I've seen, because I'm always watching these type of like scientific discovery shows and different things, and I've seen a lot where they're like, this should not be in this period. Like, they find something and they're like, this is not supposed to be here.
So you have to think also that things are always moving, the tectonic plates and such, like all that stuff, Earth is always moving and shifting, and not just like dirt blowing around, but big ass like
continents.
Yes,
or moving
like the whole state,
like Africa splitting in half.
No, like California with the San Andreas Fault.
Oh yeah,
is literally like splitting in half, or like So what's gonna happen? Whenever that does happen, there's going to be a huge shift, and one part is going to slowly go up, and the other part is going to go down, making it to where that timeline is going to look up higher, and it's going to be skewed. Yeah. So we don't know, like, I don't know, I'm not an archaeologist, I'm not any of that, but we don't know. It could be that that's skewing the entire timeline of the whole fucking world. Who knows?
Yeah, it depends on where they found the samples and what they found.
And we don't know what happened 10,000 years ago. Maybe during the Ice Age it skewed. So, no one has been alive that long to know. So that's why some historians are even like, this could be all off. And then also, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. And then number 4, also the Romanesque architecture in the 10th century in Western Europe could suggest that the Roman era as a whole was not even nearly as long as we have come to believe.
Oh, that goes back to, what do you think about the Roman Empire? It wasn't as long as we believe.
So how we think that it happened, that whole, like, it was a huge empire for 900 years. 300 of those years might not have even been there.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
It is weird, because it changes a lot of things. Like
your
perspective on, because it was, the Roman Empire was so grand and so, like, what's the word?
Long.
Flourished? I don't know.
It really flourished. Yeah. It was almost
until it didn't. Yeah. But I mean, like, it was unstoppable almost, right?
Yeah. So, like, as I said, like, all those make sense as long as you believe in, quote, unquote, what they say and what scientists are telling us. And as you all know, I'm a very, like, motive-driven person. I want to know what the motive is. Like, why would you want to add 300 years to the timeline? What the fuck? Does it even matter?
The only thing I can think of is because it could go back to the Bible somehow and, like, try to skew what people believe in through faith?
No.
I don't know.
That's not.
That's not part of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not faith driven.
So why would a pope? So that's why you're getting the faith thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like if they're using it to their advantage to somehow try to their narrative of their belief system.
Okay. So why would a pope and 2 emperors get together to change the timeline? And that sounds like a bad joke. Like 2 guys and a pope walk into a bar together.
It does sound like a joke.
So, yeah, I wanted to make sure my little joke got in there.
Okay, so if it's not faith-based motive...
Their motive would have been to legitimize Otto's claim to the Holy Roman Empire.
Well, that is faith, right? To legitimize his claim?
That's not faith. You're trying to legitimize. People always try to legitimize themselves to, like, be princess.
But what was he trying to...
He's trying to claim his stake to the throne of the Roman Empire. So I did a quick search.
Oh, for power. So it's for power.
Yeah, for power.
This is for
So
power.
after I did like a quick search on this because I was like, there's no way I'm gonna go delve into the fucking Roman Empire. I'm not doing this right now. So I didn't do a full deep dive, but I did find out that his cousin Henry II, Duke of Bavaria, tried to claim the throne for himself. Apparently, there were like a lot of issues with Otto III's claim to the throne. So, by offsetting this timeline, it would make it to where for sure he was the legitimate person for the throne.
Oh, he just wanted to be the heir to the throne. Like, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah. So it was saying that he wasn't supposed to be the heir, and this other guy's coming along and be like, dude, I'm the heir because of this. And somehow they concocted a plan where if they fast forwarded a certain time period and made it a different year, that it would give him the throne.
And by adding those additional years, it ensured that he was the heir.
He would be the heir.
And is that because of the made-up stories that supposedly happened during that 300 years?
Yeah.
So it was more about they needed the time
to make
these stories to
plausible in order to have him be the heir.
I get it now.
Yeah.
That's really elaborate.
It's very elaborate. So yeah, do you think that they actually messed with the entire timeline forever just to legitimize Otto III?
I mean, I believe...
It seems super fucking far-fetched, and not a lot of people are believing in this. It is not a very popular conspiracy that you can really grasp onto because it is so far-fetched just to get one person to be heir to the throne.
I believe that they could have tried to do this, though, and that's where the conspiracy came from. I don't disbelieve that they tried to do this.
I'm sure they try to do it all the time, adding in a couple of days, adding in events, adding in whatever.
Yeah. And I'm sure that they made up a lot of stories about why they should be the heir to the throne. We've done other stories where people have came forward and made their claims why they should be heir to their respective throne, monarchies or whatever. But getting the entire world on board to add the additional
300 years. We're not talking about 3 days.
Yeah,
we're talking like hundreds of thousands of days.
When, like you said, in the past, 100 years, we can't even get people to agree to the same time zone.
Yeah.
Daylight savings.
Yeah.
So how are you going to get and that's just in America. How are you going to try to get the entire world?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And that would be, if they could do that, then
there could be a possibility for world peace. Which I'll tell you, at that time, there was no world peace anyways. This was after Jesus and all that. And we know that the Middle East, and there's been all this world fighting.
Oh, that's been going on for that,
Since before Jesus' time, which would have been zero, like year one was like year one that he was born,
Well, I think there's always been conflict since humans have been on the planet.
So there's no way that there was world peace 2,000 years ago. Or 1,000 years ago in order to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no way to get everybody on board.
Yeah.
But that is a fun story, though. I like it.
Yeah.
And I have wrote a lot of cool notes down for ideas of other things to talk about that just kind of branch off of it, because there's so much that could just could really keep going with it.
Yeah, it's very mind stimulating. It's very thought provoking, and it leads us to more questions than really I've answered anything.
Well, it does, because that's why
it makes me want to learn more about, different, why does this cousin Henry want any part of Otto's throne? Why does cousin Henry think that something's that he gets it? Mm-hmm. So it makes me want to deep dive into history, and that's really good. That's what we need to do, is learn more. Mm-hmm. We need to fill our brains with knowledge and not just TikTok videos.
Oh my gosh.
Of dancing TikTokers.
Yeah, I don't really watch the dancing TikTokers. I have no interest in doing any of the dances, so I don't really have any interest in it.
We are going to play a really fun game next week called Incoherent on our YouTube.
Oh, we are. We should
probably... And that I did get off TikTok, I think. It's really funny, though. I cannot wait. So,
yeah,
you guys definitely next week need to, tune in to YouTube. We're going to do a YouTube live about that. So
that one will be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we still have a conspiracy game we need to finish.
Yes. So
we'll get there.
We're working on things. So, okay, guys. Well, that was my episode for the day. So thank you guys for listening. And what do you guys think about the time theory? Did it make you at least think about time in general? Did it provoke your thoughts? And
did it provoke your thoughts?
Thank you guys for listening. And don't forget to
share, like, and subscribe. And please, thank you for everyone who has been following us on TikTok, mentioning TikTok. Recently, we have been getting a lot new followers, so thank you so much. And don't forget, we have a YouTube, too. You can follow us on there also.
Yeah, and see us in person.
And we do a lot of lives on there for...
A lot of lives.
Different things that we're doing on there. Yeah.
We do all of our extra fun content stuff on there. Don't forget to email us too at conspiraciesunlocked@gmail.com. Bye. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3. Bye.